Hi everyone, good evening. I have joined for the 10 weeks of Yuktahaar project. हम लोग week 7 में हैं and this is the exercise week जो हमने week 7 में शुरू किया था. So this is the last day for the exercise week. कल से we are going to step on to week 8 and that's a great thing. सिर्फ 3 हफ्ते बचे हैं to finish off this project. Okay, so exercise week mein, just to summarize, the first 3 days is what I spoke about, all kinds of different exercises, strength, aerobics, what to do if you're a beginner, what to do if you are at an intermediate level, or what to do if you are an advanced level exerciser. And then yesterday I spoke about yoga, what are the ways in which you can identify the correct yoga course for you, what are the factors which makes a traditional yoga system very different and superior from the others who do not follow a traditional yoga system. And जैसा मैंने आपको बताया था कल ही कि पतंजलि योगा सूत्र जो है उनसे लिया हुआ है ये अष्टांग योगा, which is the 8 limbs of yoga. अष्ट का मतलब होता है 8, अष्ट is हिंदी, उसका इंग्लिश है 8, and ashtang, asht anga is limbs. So basically these are the 8 limbs of yoga, and इसी के 8 limbs of yoga के basis पे सारे traditional schools they work, they have developed their school of thought, keeping this 8 limbs of yoga at the core. And I had also mentioned yesterday that it is important to follow yoga as a complete system which involves all these 8 limbs of yoga. आसन इसमें से सिर्फ एक लिम्ब है, ये 8 लिम्ब में से एक लिम्ब है आसन. And just to think of yoga as asan or only to just stick to asan may not help us reap the complete genuine benefit of yoga. इसमें बहुत बार ये मिथ होता है, lot of people feel कि ये जो 8 limbs of yoga है इसको हमें it's like they feel that they are steps of a ladder. A lot of teachers have also kind of helped promote this misconception, but it is not like that. 8 limbs of yoga है. Limbs क्या होते हैं? जैसे आपके हाथ और पाँव हैं. So these are limbs, right? Can you say that your hand is more important than your leg? Can you say that your right leg is more important than your left leg? You cannot say that. इसका नाम अंग है, अष्ट अंग, which means that they are limbs. When they say limbs का मतलब ये होता है कि they all work in totality एक साथ. That is one thing. The other thing limbs का मतलब ये होता है कि depending on what work is there, you use your limb. अगर मुझे खाना खाना है and I am a right-handed person, I will put my right hand forward. So depending on my requirement, if I have to kick someone, I will use my right leg. So depending on कि मेरा requirement क्या है, I will use my limbs accordingly. So in the same fashion, you will have to understand these 8 limbs of yoga. These are not steps. A lot of people say these are the 8 steps of yoga. So you first start with number 1, then with number 2. जब तक आप नंबर 8 तक आएंगे, we don't even know if we will survive in this world, because ये सारा जो limbs हैं इनको time लगता है practice करने में, and there is no such demarcation that you can say कि मेरा number 1 limb हो गया है, I have become proficient in it and now I can progress in number 2. It's very grey to decide when you should progress to number 2 if you think of them as steps of a ladder, but they are not actually steps of a ladder. They are all act as a whole system. Depending on your requirement, you can use more of one limb and lesser of the other, but in a sense you should use all of them in totality, like how we use our heart, power, all our limbs, we use them together, right, so as to carry on our day-to-day functions. So similarly, in that manner you should use them. I have actually given a brief note in my book about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system and how yoga with its complete 8 limbs, so these are the limbs, मैं एक बार हट जाती हूँ, but yoga with its complete 8 limbs, they help in stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. In this book, Yuktahaar, the belly and brain diet, you can go ahead and check what these nervous systems are. I don't want to get into details because there's too much to explain anyways today. But any of the limbs basically you pursue, as I said, you can choose to do one more than the other, but they all help in stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system individually also. Therefore, it is very important that you treat yoga as a complete system and just not just not stick to the physical aspect of the yoga, which is asanas. So asanas के बारे में I'm not going to discuss much today. Okay, I'll just run you through these limbs. The names are there in my book as well. So number 1 is yamas, number 2 is niyamas, number 3 is asan, then there is pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. आसन को जब purposely मैंने middle में रखा है because I don't want to discuss too much of asan because we already actually I did touch upon asan yesterday and we already do quite know a lot about asanas. But what I want to talk about is the other limbs which often get ignored. So asanas, so I'll start with this first. So I'll explain these 5 limbs and then the yamas, and yamas is something that I'll explain at the end. Okay, so pranayam क्या है? Thankfully because of COVID pranayam को एक बहुत ही एक वो मिल गया है. There's a reinvention that has happened because अचानक से लोगों को इंटरेस्ट हो गया है प्राणायाम में because of the pandemic, which is a great thing. किसी भी कारण इंटरेस्ट तो हुआ, बहुत अच्छी बात है. But I just want to brief you on still some basic thing that people are missing. So pranayam basically, okay, so basically we have 3 koshas in our body. If you go to any yoga school or Ayurveda school of thought, they will tell you we have these 3. Of course, we have other koshas, but I'm talking about these 3 koshas, which is one is Annamaya Kosha, which is our physical personality, हमारा physical sheath, our physical body. That is the Annamaya Kosha. And then we have our Manomaya Kosha, which is our emotional, our psychological, our mental personality. So there's Manomaya Kosha, there is Annamaya Kosha. And then in the middle of Annamaya and Manomaya is the Pranamaya Kosha. So the Pranayama Kosha is basically the Kosha which is basically our energy sheet, our vital life force, or the pranic sheet. So our pranic personality. So it comes in the middle of Annamaya and Manomaya Kosha. It has the ability to influence both the other koshas, which is basically your physical health and your emotional health. तो अगर आप कुछ भी ऐसा करते हैं which will influence or which will refine your pranamaya kosha, it will automatically help you in both your physical health and mental health. And because pranayama helps in doing that, because pranayama helps in actually influencing your pranayama kosha, pranayam actually helps in both your physical health, mental health, emotional health, everything. And that is something I think that people are not understanding these days because जब COVID हुआ, then people thought that it is mindful, it is deep breathing, it is breathing practices, so it's good for the lungs. At times people say that it is good for some other thing, but we need to understand that breathing जो है, firstly pranayam क्यों different है? सांस तो हम ऐसे भी लेते हैं दिन भर. It is different because it is mindful breathing. एक तरीके से एक structured way में हम बैठ के breathing करते हैं, and therefore it becomes pranayam. So this pranayama, it will help you in your physical health and mental health both, as I said. In the Shivananda ashram there is one particular course which is only based on pranayam. So if you do that course, which is basically for teachers like us, like teachers who have done the basic course, of course. आप अगर एकदम beginner हैं तो आप immediately वो course join नहीं कर सकते हैं. So but when you have done a bit of your beginners thing with Shivananda and they recognize you as a Shivananda teacher, then you can take admission for that course. And उस course में you only sit and do pranayams of different kinds. So whole day you are actually doing deep breathing, and you won't believe that a lot, in fact almost all the practitioners who enroll for the course, after a month when they come out, they've already lost a lot of weight. So people feel that pranayam या तो कोई lungs के लिए है या सिर्फ हमारे anxiety के लिए है, but actually it can also help you lose weight. In fact, if you read any of Swami Shivananda's book, he will tell you that before enrolling for the course, he will ask you to get ghee from your house before you come to the ashram and do this course, because उनको पता है कि इसमें इतना ज़्यादा metabolism high हो जाता है that you need to be eating well. So that is the power of pranayama. I'm not asking you to think of it as a weight loss thing, but what I'm just trying to tell you that to only think of yoga as asan, or to only think of yoga as something that will give me mental peace, these are all these are kind of degrading yoga into a singular thing. And I want you to start thinking really out of this box that probably social media has created, so that you understand that you can lose weight not only by doing asanas but also doing pranayama. At the same time, it's not only pranayama that's going to develop your lungs or your mental health, but asanas will also help you. As I was saying yesterday, all of these limbs actually are interconnected. They all help each other. Of course is the point, because if you get stronger, your back gets stronger with asana, you are able to sit nicely to do a pranayama. When you do a pranayama well, you breathe well, it automatically helps you do better in your asana. So everything, not only asanas और प्राणायाम, बट सारे लिम्स आपस में इस तरह से इंटरकनेक्टेड हैं. इन सब के बेनिफिट्स भी मल्टीफोल्ड हैं. नाउ फॉर बिगिनर्स who say that they do not know how to do pranayama, बहुत पहले फेज 1 में मैंने एक lymphatic drainage पे एक वीडियो किया था. We did one live session in phase 1 which was on lymphatic drainage. In that lymphatic drainage system, I had actually demonstrated a deep breathing technique जहाँ पे कुछ भी difficult नहीं था. You just had to breathe in, inhale and exhale. So people who are really beginners, जिनको अनुलोम विलोम नहीं पता है या किसी भी तरह के प्राणायाम नहीं आपने सीखे हैं, it's completely fine. You can go revisit that video. It's nothing but just deep abdominal breathing and very, very easy to do. So it's something that you can really start with, and then of course you can build up your pranayam practice with so many different pranayams that are there. ये जो deep breathing का technique है, that itself can give these benefits that I have been mentioning, so it's a good place to start. So this is about pranayam, and then we have of course pratyahara. Now what is pratyahara? Pratyahara is basically, prati का मतलब होता है anything that is external to you, आपके सामने है, outside of you. And ahara is to bring it in front, to bring it in front of you, to bring it inside you. So pratyahara is basically to bring all the senses that is distracted and to bring them inwards. And though it sounds very esoteric, but the simple act of mindful eating that we do, that the SPAR technique that the book talks about, to focus on your food, to basically withdraw all the senses that is outside, whether it's in the form of the sense of hearing, चाहे वो टीवी के साथ है, या the sense of your sensory tongue, which is there in the form of talking to somebody else. So basically withdrawing all the senses, all the external stimuli which is there, and bring them all inward so that you can focus only on the act of eating. This itself is an act of pratyahara, and it's not something very esoteric to understand. But the whole point I'm trying to make here is that if you live a lifestyle which is in tune with any of these limbs or all of these limbs even better, then you do reap benefits of mental health, physical health, emotional health. And that is what we are seeing with the participants also. Jitne participants hai, none of them are counting calories, none of them are counting the macronutrients, but all they are doing is employing the SPAR technique, which is nothing but pratyahara, and then they are reaping benefits. So as I said, सब limbs interconnected है और सब limbs के अपने अपने benefits manifold है. So going ahead from pratyahara is dharana, dhyana and samadhi. My book calls it like contemplative practices of meditation, because ये तीनों actually meditation practices ही हैं. These are actually one thing progressing to the other. So with this subject, I'll just make this announcement that we have an expert. कल Friday है, so of course we have our experts talk series, and in the expert talk series, who's joining me is Miss Shivani Atri. We have both studied from the same school of yoga, which is Shivananda, and we have even learning Vedanta from the same teacher, and she's a great person. I know her personally very well. And we are going to talk more about her, of course, tomorrow. But what we are essentially going to talk about tomorrow is meditation. And that is why I thought I'll just explain to you. Your meditation, again, it has become like a wild thing in the West. And therefore, people are like really, excited and looking forward to it in India now. But ये meditation है क्या चीज़, इसे करते कैसे हैं, और मेडिटेशन करने का प्रोसेस क्या है, कैसे बैठा जाता है, अगर आंख बंद करते हैं तो होता क्या है, कोई सफेद बत्ती दिखती है या मैं फिर इसके बाद क्या सेज सन्यासी बन जाऊंगा, व्हाट विल हैपन टू मी, all kinds of questions that usually people have for meditation. Should I use an app for meditating, or should I meditate under the guidance of a teacher? Should I lie down or should I sit cross-legged? All of these questions are things that we are going to answer for you tomorrow. Shivani ji is going to answer, and that is why I thought I'll just make this announcement. But in brief, I'll just explain to you about these three things. So what is dharana? Dharana is, like as I said, all our meditation, but you will first start with dharana. So what is dharana? So basically there's always an object of meditation. So when you meditate, there's an object. वो object कुछ भी हो सकता है. It could be a tree, it could be Om, the symbol of Om, or it could be the form of your favorite deity. So it could be anything, but there's an object of meditation. And dharana is a process where actually it's the very initial process where there is a lot of effort required. तो बहुत एफर्ट रिक्वायर्ड होता है क्या चीज में, टू ब्रिंग योर फोकस टू दिस ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ मेडिटेशन. तो आप बैठते हैं मेडिटेशन करने, पर आपको बहुत एक एफर्ट देना पड़ता है टू ब्रिंग योर फोकस सो दैट यू कैन एक्चुअली कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन जो भी आपका चोजन ऑब्जेक्ट है मेडिटेशन का. सो व्हेन यू आर इन दिस स्टेज, यू आर एक्चुअली इन द स्टेज ऑफ धारणा. किस तरह से एफर्ट देना पड़ता है कि सपोज आपने आंख बंद किया, आप बैठ गए, आपने ओम, सपोज आपने ओम को चुना एंड यू आर ट्राइंग टू फोकस ऑन ओम. बट व्हाट हैपेंस इज, आप जैसे ही आंख बंद करते हैं यू ट्राई टू फोकस ऑन ओम, आपको वो सुबह जो आपने लड़की देखी थी अपने ऑफिस में बहुत खूबसूरत थी, उसके बारे में याद आ जाता है. उसने कौन सी साड़ी पहनी थी, कितनी सुंदर थी, साड़ी कौन से कलर का था, ये सारी चीजें हमें याद आने लगती है. या फिर हमें याद आने लगता है कि अरे वो वहां का उस रेस्टोरेंट का मसाला डोसा क्या मजेदार है यार, कितना दिन हो गया खाया नहीं, एंड आई शुड एक्चुअली गो दिस संडे टू गो. सो दीज आर वेरियस काइंड्स ऑफ थॉट्स दैट स्टार्ट कमिंग द मोमेंट वी क्लोज आवर आईज एंड वी ट्राई टू फोकस ऑन द ऑब्जेक्ट. सो दिस इज द एफर्ट दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड, क्योंकि बार बार क्या होता है हमें पता भी नहीं चलता है कि हम कितनी देर तक दूसरे थॉट्स पे जंप कर चुके हैं. 10 मिनट निकल चुका है, 15 मिनट निकल चुका है, वी हैव नो आइडिया. हमें पता कब चलता है कि हम दूसरे थॉट पे डाइवर्ट कर चुके हैं, जब हमें याद आता है कि अरे हमें तो ओम पे फोकस करना था. एंड देन वी सडनली देन रिमेंबर दैट ओ गॉड, आई हैव ऑलरेडी स्पेंट सो मच टाइम थिंकिंग अबाउट द डोसा और माय कलीग इन द ऑफिस. सो दिस इज द स्टेज ऑफ धारणा वेयर अ लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट इज रिक्वायर्ड जस्ट टू ब्रिंग योर फोकस into that object of meditation. Once you cross dharana, then you come in the stage of dhyana. ध्याना में क्या होता है कि आपको फोकस करने के लिए एफर्ट चला गया है, यू हैव प्रोग्रेस्ड, यू हैव ग्रेजुएटेड, एंड आपको अभी फोकस करने में एफर्ट नहीं लगता है. तो आप आंख बंद करते हैं, आपने सोचा है कि मैं ओम पे फोकस करूंगा या करूंगी, एंड यू प्रीटी मच आर एबल टू फोकस. तो माइंड इतना नहीं भागता है, बट you need some effort to retain that focus. वो retain करने के लिए कि वो फोकस बना रहे, वो रिटेंशन बना रहे, you need an effort. नहीं एफर्ट लेंगे तो वो भाग जाएगा. But that's the stage of dhyana. And then we have the final stage which is samadhi. अभी समाधि बोलते ही लोगों को लगता है कि यार is it about leaving my physical body? Am I going to die? Am I going to leave my family? So lot of again myths. बट समाधि इज नथिंग एसोटेरिक, कुछ भी ऐसा दुनिया नहीं बदलता आपके सामने, ट्री अपसाइड डाउन नहीं दिखने लगती है, कुछ भी नहीं होता है. बट समाधि इज बेसिकली वेयर योर स्ट्रगल्स हैव कम टू एन एंड. इट्स द प्रोसेस वेयर यू नो लॉन्गर हैव टू पुट एफर्ट टू ऑल्सो रिटेन योर फोकस ऑन दैट ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ मेडिटेशन. Samadhi bhi, I'm just getting a little technical, I hope you guys like it, but Samadhi is also of two kinds. सविकल्प समाधि होता है और निर्विकल्प होता है. सविकल्प समाधि वो होता है जिसमें the effort has gone away, like I said, so it's becoming like effortless, the struggle has gone. फोकस, माइंड को फोकस करने में भी स्ट्रगल नहीं है, रिटेन करने में भी स्ट्रगल नहीं है, बट यू आर अवेयर. इन सविकल्प समाधि द अवेयरनेस इज देयर दैट आई एम द subject because I'm meditating, so I am the subject, my Om is the object, and I am doing the process. So three things: subject, object, process. ये तीनों का awareness है in सविकल्प समाधि. And then from Savikalpa Samadhi, you progress to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where that awareness of subject, object and process also disappears. So you actually merge into a state where you're fully absorbed and it's very, very effortless. क्या इससे आपको निर्वाणा मिल जाएगा, क्या आप इससे सेल्फ रियलाइज्ड हो जाएंगे, साधु संत बन जाएंगे, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होगा. बट बेसिकली मेडिटेशन डज ब्रिंग कामनेस टू द माइंड. यस, इट डज इंक्रीज योर मेंटल हेल्थ. यस, it will affect your physical health in a positive way. Yes, but what it does is that it brings a lot of clarity in your thoughts. In Vedanta language, it's a stage which is called Chitta Shuddhi, where actually there's a lot of clarity in your mind, in your decision making. And I can go to the extent, because I personally meditate every day. I can personally tell you that if you start meditating, आप चाहे कौन से भी process में हो, आप धारणा में हो, ध्याना में हो, I myself have not reached the stage of samadhi, so it's not something कि कोई competition नहीं है कि मुझे धारणा में मैं क्यों हूँ, मुझे ध्याना में होना चाहिए, shit man, I'm so bad, I'm still so much effort is required. Nothing like that. We all have our own personal journey. The most important thing is to just sit there and meditate. That's the most important thing. कैसे progress होगा, you can just not worry about the results. But I feel that if you meditate, it not only affects your health in a positive way, but it also helps you in every decision you make in your life, in your career, in your relationships. I have only seen a lot of positive happening, because I meditate every day. So this was about meditation. जैसा मैंने कहा, अगर आप लोग को इंटरेस्ट है मेडिटेशन में, तो प्लीज कल का सेशन जरूर देखिएगा लाइव. It is at 4 p.m. not at 6 p.m. So please make note of the change of timings. And you have questions or anything, then you can of course ask during the live about meditation. Now I'll come to Yama and Niyama, and without making it very long and lengthy, because I just have few minutes left. But basically these are code of conduct. This is what yogic lifestyle is about. तो आसन में आने के साथ साथ हमें ये भी बताया गया कि आप में एक लाइफस्टाइल होना चाहिए. आप कुछ भी करके अपने आप को योगी नहीं बोल सकते हैं, जैसे आजकल इंस्टाग्राम पे सब लोग बोलते रहते हैं. There are certain code of conduct which has been given by sage Patanjali, and they ask you to follow it in a day-to-day life. So इनको आप do's and don'ts की तरह लीजिए. So niyamas are the do's and yamas are the don'ts. ये don'ts हैं और ये do's हैं. बहुत कुछ है इनमें, but I'll speak about the ones which are probably relevant to food and health. Of course, they're all in a way connected to health, I would say that, but I'll just make it quick and talk about the ones which might be more interesting for the people who have joined here. So let's talk about the niyamas. So niyamas में सबसे पहले है तपस. I want to talk about tapas. I have mentioned tapas even in my book. बुक में कहाँ आप तपस का नाम देखेंगे, इंटरमिटेंट फास्टिंग का जो सेक्शन है उधर मैंने तपस के बारे में बताया है. सो व्हाट इज तपस? तपस इज बेसिकली नॉन अटैचमेंट, to be able to understand कि मैं इसके बिना रह सकता हूँ. So right now what you guys are doing in phase 1 and phase 2, you're actually practicing tapas, because आप लोग सोचते थे कि हाय मैं कैसे रहूँगा ग्लूटेन के बिना, मैं कैसे रहूँगा अपने सुबह की चाय के बिना, मैं कैसे रहूँगा अपने रात की कॉफी के बिना. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज जो मेंटल हमारे ब्लॉक्स थे कि हाउ एम आई गोइंग टू लिव विदाउट दिस, हाउ कैन आई लिव, आई एम इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल, ये तो मुझे चाहिए नहीं तो मुझे हेडेक हो जाता है, ये हो जाता है. And so many participants have beautifully sailed through. They have said that the habits that they have just left them long behind, and they are themselves surprised कि अब उनको इसकी जरूरत फील नहीं होती है. This is actually practicing tapas, to realize that I am okay to live without certain things, that I am not attached to certain things in a way that अगर वो मुझे नहीं मिलता है तो मैं disturb हो जाऊंगा या हो जाऊंगी. So you guys are actually doing that, The second one I will say is Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya को बहुत जन बोलते हैं it is self study, but it is not actually self study. It is studying your own scriptures. So studying your own scriptures का क्या मतलब होता है? You can study your Bible, you can study your Quran, you can study Bhagavad Gita, you can study the Puranas, the Vedas, but it is important that you study your own scriptures, and it is important you study the scriptures. Why it is important to study the scriptures? Actually, I'm going to call my Vedanta teacher one day for the Friday expert talk, and we are going to talk at length that how can, studying these scriptures and how can Bhagavad Gita really help you in solving all your day-to-day issues, the major ones, which can actually, really stress us to the point that we start reaching out for comfort foods and affect our health. So that I leave for my teacher to speak more about it. And then the other aspect is Ishwar Pranidhana, which is self-surrender to the Lord. I want to talk about this because one of the participants of the project, I don't think I would like to take the name, but she lost her grandfather a few days back, and in the progress form she mentioned about it, and she mentioned that how she was really doing well in the project and losing weight and feeling great in everything, and really practicing that tapas which I was telling you, being able to live without things which she thought was essential. But because this episode happened, she felt that she's falling off, and she felt like she again wants to reach out to those comfort junk foods. And then she wrote in the form that I should come and speak something about these inevitable stresses that can come in our way and how can we deal with it. Now why I'm talking about this is because when we say Ishwar Pranidhana, it is self-surrender to the Lord. And what do you mean by self-surrender to the Lord? इसका मतलब क्या होता है? इसका मतलब सिर्फ यही है कि हमारा जो यूनिवर्सल ऑर्डर है इस दुनिया में, there is a universal order which is the law of karma. You surrender to that, which means that you accept it. Surrender का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप कुछ मत करो. Surrender का मतलब होता है to accept it. Accept what? Basically the experiences, the situations which we face. So जो situations हम face करते हैं, हर situation में हम जरूरी नहीं है कुछ कर पाएं. There are situations in which we are able to do something, we are able to work towards that situation, we are able to change that situation in our favor. So Yoga Sutra doesn't say कि वो आप surrender कर दो, accept कर दो, don't do anything to change it. No, you should put all the efforts, your 100%, to change whatever you can. At the same time, having the wisdom that if there is a situation which you cannot change, which is choiceless, then you got to accept that situation as is, because that's the order of the universe, that's the law of karma, and the only way you can grow and evolve is by accepting it and then just moving on. So somebody's death, of course a close family member, it hurts, but you got to understand that this is the way the world functions. It's a mortal body, we are not immortals, and if we are born we will die. Anything that takes birth also is going to die. And if you really understand and look at things, of course it's not as easy as I say, but with practice, if you do it, then you quite at least get out of the cycle where you feel that, oh, I want to reach out for that comfort food, because you accept things as is. You understand that this is a choiceless situation. If your relative or your family member is not well, you give your 100% to work to ensure that they recover, to take them to the best doctors, best treatment. But beyond that, if anything happens, it is definitely a choiceless situation which should be accepted as is. Then there's, of course, when it comes to niyama, there's also the socha, the santosha, which is purity and contentment, and I don't want to go ahead talking about so many things. But when we also come to the other portion, which is the yama, then in yama I want to talk about Brahmacharya. So Brahmacharya is one of the yamas. Again, you will see it, me talking about Brahmacharya in my book. I've spoken about it in chapter 4. Brahmacharya is also moderation. Brahmacharya का मतलब ये नहीं है that you become a celibate. Again, it is misunderstood. It means moderation. So when you follow the Yuktahaar diet, you're actually practicing Brahmacharya. क्योंकि आपने कुछ भी extreme नहीं कर रहे हैं. What you're doing is moderating. आप उतना ही खा रहे हैं जितनी आपको भूख है. You're not being greedy कि ये है सामने तो चलो मैं ये भी खा लेता हूँ. So practicing moderation in all ways, not only it is told in the context of a relationship or your sexual life as it is mostly understood, but it is about practicing moderation in all spheres of life, and that is exactly what the book, what Yuktahaar program is all about. So all your participants, I would say, are already practicing Brahmacharya and following this yama. The other one which I just want to talk about is aparigraha, which is, you know, accumulation of things. कि हम बहुत चीज़ को ऐसे इकट्ठा करने की कोशिश करते हैं. आई थिंक वी जस्ट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये जो ग्रीड है टू एक्चुअली कलेक्ट एवरीथिंग. कलेक्ट एवरीथिंग का क्या मतलब है? आपके पास पैसे हैं तो जितने जरूरत हैं उतने ही कपड़े खरीदो. जरूरी नहीं है कि यू आर रिच सो you should buy everything in the world. You know, I see a lot of these posts on social media where girls say that you know, I have so many clothes. Again, I'm not gender biased, men के साथ भी होता है, but they say that इतने सारे कपड़े हैं कि you know wardrobe में जगह ही नहीं है. But the moment I have to step out and I open my wardrobe, I feel कि oh my God, I have no clothes. So somehow, you know, this is a parigraha, a greed where you only are collecting things, which simply means कि आपने कुछ ज़्यादा ही collect कर लिया जिसकी आपको ज़रूरत भी नहीं है. And then of course we are living into a life where this fashion recycle is there, where people say where a lot of these fashion conscious brands are coming up and they're saying that, you know, washing clothes is leading to environment damage. Manufacturing clothes leads to so much labor cost, water cost and everything. So the fashion conscious brands are coming up and saying to only, you know, buy whatever is required, or अगर आपके पास कुछ extra है तो give it out, share it out so that, you know, we can reduce this environmental damage. But honestly, if we follow the yamas and niyamas जो हमें बहुत पहले सिखाया गया था, if we would have been following all of this all through our life, through the generations, तो शायद आज हम लोग इस स्टेज पे आते ही नहीं. Because this is exactly what a parigraha was, or always has been taught to us, to only buy what is required. You might be having more resources, आपके पास बहुत पैसा है, you have turned vegan, but that doesn't mean that you will buy the entire almond butter that is there in the market. People were stocking rations when the lockdown was announced every time. So all of these practices, I feel, is something that a parigraha is about. And in fact, all the yamas and niyamas, if I go on, I can do a separate session for it, but they are all somehow relevant in our modern day life. And therefore, as I said, concluding my session, that yoga is not about only asanas, it is about living a complete lifestyle. It is about having deep breathing practices in your 1 hour of practice, doing some amount of meditation, maybe just for 2 minutes in the day. You don't have to sit for 20 minutes. Of course, as I said, meditation के बारे में we'll speak tomorrow much more. It is also not about कि मैं कुछ भी पहनूं, कुछ भी करूं, but I just go and spend 1 hour in my yoga class and I can call myself a yogi. It is, being a yogi is also about having a certain attitude. So that, I think, is very, very important, and that attitude is what a traditional school can teach you, and that is the reason why I say that you should go ahead and enroll yourself in a traditional class of yoga.